Hello, Honors Chemistry. This is the metric system and doing metric conversions. Hopefully, after enough practice, this will be in your mind. So, unit conversions using the metric system use two or more kinds of units to describe a quantity. So you could have 365 days in a year. Both of those things mean the same amount of time. Just like 1 dozen equals 12, no matter what it is. When we write unit conversions, we can write them like fractions because they equal one another. So I know that I have an amount of distance and I could call it 1 inch, or I could call it 2.54 centimeters. It doesn't matter because it's the same distance, it's the same amount of length between 2 points. But unit conversions are meant to be manipulated or flipped around. So when I think about the metric system, the units that we deal with have prefixes like kilo, which means you're getting bigger by 1,000. Our base is always going to be the number 1, like 1 liter, 1 gram, or 1 meter. Centi means we're getting smaller by 100. And milli means we're getting smaller by 1,000. This is the table that we made together in class. And you have, hopefully you have that written down in your notebook. But I'm going to use this table to do the next few conversions. And I'm going to hit pause to let you fill it in yourself and practice. And then I'll show you how to do the last two. So my first example, how many milliliters are in 0.576 liters? In this particular problem, there are 3 significant figures because there are 3 sig figs in the number 0.576. And I'm going to set up my train tracks and I'm going to color in the diagonal boxes because I know that they have to have the same unit. So this is going to help me set, when I go ahead and put the units in first, it kind of helps me set up my problem. And luckily, this is a multiplication problem. We're only multiplying by 1,000. Okay, how many centigrams are in 6,542 milligrams? Okay, this one's going to go a little bit slower, I think. Yep. So I write 6,542 milligrams on the line. I'm going to use my chart to look up the number by milligrams, which is 1,000. I'm going to look up the number by centigrams, which is 100. And look, these zeros also happen to cancel out. So when I multiply the numerators and the denominators all the way across, I get 6,542 divided by 10. When I do that, my final answer with the correct number of significant figures, which is 4, is 654.2 centigrams. Wow. So hopefully, that's Chewy barking, I'm sorry. Chewy. Okay, how many milligrams are in 5.71 times 10 to the negative 3 kilograms? I circled the boxes that I'm going to use on the table to convert these units, okay? Since I wrote 5.71 times 10 to the negative 3 kilograms on the line, I know the other blue box has to be kilograms. The number by kilograms is 1, and it equals 1,000 grams, so that's going to go on the top. Then I'm going to put grams in diagonal boxes, and 1 gram equals 1,000 milligrams according to the other box on the table. Now I have to multiply all the way across, which is pretty easy. Another way, when you're multiplying by tens, which I'll talk about in a second, you just move the decimal however many times you see a 0 to the right. But after you multiply all of the numerators in this problem, you get 5,710 milligrams, which is also already in the correct number of significant figures. So here's a helpful hint. Like I just said, when you're multiplying by, or when you're multiplying a number by multiples of 10, which means like something times 10, something times 100, something times 1,000, all you have to do is move the decimal where you see it naturally occurring in the number. Move it right however many times you see a 0. And The same or the opposite is true when you're dividing by multiples of 10. Wherever you see the naturally occurring decimal in that number, you're going to move it left however many times you see a 0. And I gave you 2 examples if you want to go ahead and hit pause so you can take a look. But in 153,769, the decimal occurs at the very end of that number, right after the 9. Since I'm dividing by 1,000, there's 3 zeros in that 1,000. I just move them 1, 2, 3 places to the left. That's how you have to do it without a calculator. Easy. This one says how many meters are in 523,456 centimeters. That's going to be the very first thing that I write on the line, and the boxes in the table that I'm using I circled in green. My centimeters have to be in diagonal boxes so that they cancel out. Since I'm dividing by a multiple of 10, all I have to do is move the decimal 2 places to the left. And when I do that, my number becomes 5,234.56 meters. Woo. All right, how many kilometers are in 5,346 meters? This time, I circled the box, or I circled the conversion that I'm using. My diagonal boxes, once again, they have to have the same unit, m, which is meters. The number that goes by meters in the box that I circled is 1,000, and it equals 1 kilometer, which is why it goes in the numerator. When I see 3 zeros in the denominator, I'm just going to move my decimal 3 places to the left. My number ends up being 5.346 kilometers. And that was the correct number of significant figures. Okay, this one I made a mistake, so please forgive my stupidity, but we're not going to look at centiliters. We're going to pretend that that says milliliters. Okay, milliliters, meow. And even though I have circled centiliters on the graph, don't look at that one. Look at milliliters on the graph, because it was a long day and I didn't want to record this over again. And Chewy keeps barking and driving me insane. So I'm going to start with 540 kiloliters. My diagonal boxes have the same unit. I made it the same color. And I highlighted the boxes from the table that I'm using to convert. Now, this time, I'm multiplying by multiples of 10. 1,000 is a multiple of 10. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. When you multiply by zeros, all you have to do is move the decimal place 6 places to the right, or you can just draw 6 zeros behind your number. And we need to answer in 2 significant figures. And even though writing this number out was a lot of work, it is in the correct number of significant figures because none of the zeros that come after 540 were significant. You guys don't give up. Chem is try. Keep practicing. Bye.